addressed the opposition. His Excellency in the morning, he said the role of opposition is to criticize constructively the ruling party so that the ruling party can stay in power, so that the opposition can remain in opposition. But Your Excellency, we are here as a family to contest the status quo because we are Zimbabweans. We are here, Your Excellency, if we improve your stay in power and the people of Zimbabwe are happy, let it be.
Restoration of fundamental freedom, restoration of discipline and order in the country. We can't have a country where people are subjected to abuses by drug lords.
The buzzword is lawfare, where those in power, the political elites, use law or supposedly judicial infrastructure to silence critics and opponents from the opposition or even from within to ensure compliance and to cow a nation into silence. That's the buzzword, lawfare. Countless and a number of times in this country, for the past 45 years since independence, it has been deployed against opposition faces and forces. Job Sikala was held in remand prison for over 2 years. Jameson, Timba, and others for close to 5 months as they battled to raise their voice, an opposing voice to the ruling elite. Now this season, this will always be the Free Talk, where we discuss issues that matter, issues that you should care about. And we ask the question for you, the so what question. So what about you? So what? And so why should you care? On this, the Free Talk, in proud partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation for Freedom, and me, your host as usual, Dara B. Now join me after this break as we explore this idea of lawfare. Welcome back to this, the Free Talk, in proud partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation for Freedom. And I, your host as usual, Dara B, here on Heart and Soul TV and radio. Now, to have this discussion on lawfare, I am joined by one of those who have suffered at the hands of the state. Jameson Timba, the leader of the Triple C, a faction of it, if you may want, who was detained at his home, here in his home, in June last year for allegations of trying to incite public violence and holding an unsanctioned meeting. We discussed the details, the insights, and what we didn't know. Thank you very much, Mr. Timba, for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Blessed.
Beautiful. Now, Mr. Timba, I know there was this image of you as you walked out of court in your prison grab when you were arrested last year. Did you have an opportunity to look at that image?
I saw a few images of me, yeah, I did. I'm not sure which one in particular.
There's one that particularly strikes me when you were wearing your khaki grabs and you were looking up whilst you were walking towards the van. What was going through your mind as you were doing that?
You know, Blessed, before this country became independent, the racist settler regime of Ian Douglas Smith used this piece of legislation called LOMA to silence the voices of the nationalists, to silence the voices of the majority black population who aspired to participate in the governance of their country, who aspired to have equal opportunities with other races which existed then in Rhodesia. Ian Douglas Smith deployed LOMA, which was the Law and Order Maintenance Act. The Law and Order Maintenance Act literally criminalized politics in Rhodesia at that time. Our erstwhile leaders and erstwhile liberators were victims of LOMA. From Robert Mugabe to Emerson Mnangagwa today, they were all victims of LOMA. They could not express their views freely in the streets of Salisbury, Bulawayo, Gwelo, Selukwe, Fort Victoria. They could not speak because the regime could not allow them to do so. So each time I got up that van and think about what I was doing in prison, I felt a heavy sense of betrayal by my own leadership in this country. That today in Zimbabwe, the same tactics which were used by Ian Douglas Smith to silence dissent are being used to silence the voices of ordinary Zimbabweans who are just asking for freedom. They are asking for prosperity. They are asking for equal opportunities. That's all they want. They hold no arms. Nothing. They're peaceful people who are just saying to their government, we wish to participate. And then we now have instruments now under new names, from Loma to POSA. Now they've got another new name for that public order MOPA Act. But the difference is the same. There's always been about the application of that law. There's nothing fundamentally wrong in any jurisdiction to have a public order piece of legislation. But it is how it has been applied, particularly in our jurisdiction, which has been a cause for concern.
So I want us, maybe before we go deep into your rights, into the human rights that were violated in this instance, let's talk about how you managed to survive for 5 months at your age in remand prison.
First of all, I attribute it to the Almighty God. He is the giver and taker of our life. So I attribute my survival to the Almighty. What is it that I did myself, humanely, to survive in that environment? Was first of all to accept that I live under a very difficult regime, and that it doesn't matter how much I cry, my situation is not going to change. What it means is that it is me who must change my mindset, to remove the prison from my head, so that the prison stays out of prison and it stays out of me. And tell those who were persecuting me that if they thought they'll break my spirit by imprisoning me, they have it coming. No, they can't.
Did they not succeed?
No, they did not.
There was a time when you looked so dejected.
I don't know what you mean, whether I looked dejected or whether I looked unwell. I can tell you that there are times when I was in prison when I was unwell. But what I did not want is to cause any alarm and despondency amongst the generality of Zimbabweans about my health situation. But there are times that I was unwell within that prison.
How were you treated while you were? What were the conditions? Paint a picture for us.
Well, let me say that personally, I did not have any direct difficulties with prison guards. I enjoyed the respect of prison guards, in as much as I also enjoyed the respect of the good majority of the 1,400 prison inmates that I was in prison with. So I felt safe in that regard.
How was your diet, the living conditions?
Okay. We separate the diet from the living conditions. First of all, the living conditions, we were living in a cell, a terrible environment. The cell that I was living in is approximately the size of this room, which is about 60, 70 square meters, designed then to accommodate about 35 prison inmates. But on average, we would be between 60 to 100 inmates in that cell. People were sleeping next to each other, pegged like sardines within that cell. What it means, and these people are coming, these are people coming from different backgrounds, different areas. You don't know which bacteria that they're bringing. You don't know what diseases that they're bringing or any ailments that they have. And you are put in that environment. That environment was definitely unhealthy. It's still unhealthy for any inmate today. Our remand prison in particular, and our prisons in general, they need to be decongested. As things stand now, they are inhuman and they are not habitable. They actually need to be decongested, and we need to build additional prison facilities.
You were sleeping on beds, right?
No, there are no beds in prison. If you are lucky, you get one blanket. Okay. The only advantage that we had was the fact that the prison services allows you to bring in blankets from outside. So you can bring in as many as you can, as many as they would allow you. So if you can bring in 3 or 4 blankets, you can try and create a small little bed using those blankets. That's how we survived from a sleeping point of view. Diet-wise, I did not have a single day that I had food from the prison. All the food that I had came from outside prison. The only difficulty that I had was that it was not always warm food. Sometimes you get dry food, sometimes you get junk food, and that was unhealthy for me over that period of time, leading to situations where I was deprived of certain nutrients that I would ordinarily get when I have a balanced diet.
You're a man of means, Senator Timba. What happened to those who are not of means in that cell?
We call it 3 groups of people. Okay. We had people that were arrested with me. We did make arrangements to ensure that we would get food from outside for everyone that I was arrested with. Then we also have got other inmates who would get assistance from their own families so that they continue to have good food whilst they're in prison. And then we've got the third category, basically, who relied on prison food, which I would say is the majority. That food is not sufficiently nutritious for the prisoners. Work needs to be done on it. I've raised this issue several times, that our prisoners have rights to, and their diet needs to be looked at. They have a diet of sadza every day, with either with the cabbage and water, or sadza with beans and water. However, let me say that in the last 2 weeks of my incarceration, I started seeing a day where they would also bring some meat for the inmates. But the majority of times that I was there, that's the diet that I had. And then they would also be given porridge in the morning without sugar. So prisoners will have to rely on their own sources to get some sugar into peanut butter for the porridge. But that's all what is available to prisoners. What bothers me is the fact that our prison services was allocated farms by government. And the question that I have in my mind is, what is happening in those farms? Where are the vegetables being grown on those farms going? Where are they going? The livestock which is being reared at those farms, where is it going? Who is consuming it if it is not being consumed by our incarcerated compatriots?
Some would argue, some have argued that those who have been incarcerated deserve the kind of life. But what is your pushback, if any?
I think that it is a misnomer.
I've heard some government officials say prison is not a hotel. They've argued that way.
That is a misnomer. That is a misnomer. When you get arrested, what is taken away from you is your freedom. And what should never be taken away from you is your dignity. Your human dignity is enshrined and protected by our Bill of Rights. So whether you're a prisoner or a non-prisoner, your dignity must not be taken away. So the right to food, okay, that right is also enjoyed. Good food is also enjoyed by those who have been incarcerated during the constitution making process. As the opposition, as the alternative to this regime, we pushed for certain significant mindset changes in this country. We said, for instance, we don't want to talk about a police force. We don't want a police force in this country. We want a police service, which is a service to the people. We do not want a prison service. We want a correctional and prison service. So which means you incarcerate people for purposes of correcting them and reintegrating them back into society. And then you don't reintegrate by punishing them whilst they're in prison. Yes, there's reasonable punishment which is given in terms of sentencing, that you've been sentenced with labor, etc. But it's done within the confines of human rights law.
Do you think, as the prisons are structured right now, they're correctional facilities or they're punishment facilities?
They are yet to be proper correctional facilities. I've seen some effort within the prison service to start to move towards correctional services. But the fundamental problem is that unless they retrain the guards, the training that was received by those who are in the command structure of the prison service, okay, is not for correctional services. And you must know that the culture of any organization is influenced by its leadership. So the leadership of prison services comes from a culture of prisons and punishment. It does not come from the culture of correctional services. So up until that top brass is changed, the culture of prison services will not change to correctional services. There have been attempts. I can say if you go to Harare Central Prison, outside it, we've got an enterprise that you see prisoners, they make things, they manufacture things, furniture, etc. That's part of our correctional services. Okay, that's part of, making sure these people are using their skills so that they are then reintegrated back into society. But we are still a long way away, blessed, from having a culture of correctional service. That's what it should be.
In some prisons, other countries, you see entertainment for prisoners, TVs, and is there anything of that nature or that sort?
The only form of entertainment that is there is a television. And this television that is there during our time, was actually brought in by a church. This television is unfortunately only accessible or only accesses state media. And the majority of Zimbabweans, including prisoners, they don't watch ZBC. However, it was a smart TV. So most of the prisoners will get their families to bring in USB discs, etc., with some movies which they would then watch from those televisions. But once in a while, a guard walks in and he confiscates that USB port. And then 3 or 4 prisoners will go and then just bribe that guard. They'll get back the USB port and put it back.
Are you telling me that there's a culture of bribing?
Yes. In fact, there is a terrible culture at our prisons, which has got a bearing on our national security. The balance of power in our prisons has shifted from prisoners to, from prison guards to prisoners, to the extent that well-to-do prisoners effectively enjoy so many benefits in prison because all they do is that they pay guards. Our guards are badly, badly paid. They hardly survive. They have to come to work every day. But now they're having to come to work with money given by prisoners. They're having to come to work and they have lunch which is bought by prisoners. They are now compromised. I've raised this issue before. Minister Ziyambi says he's going to investigate. I don't know when he's going to investigate this, but this is a serious issue. I can tell you that the balance of power at Harare remand prison has shifted from the prison guard to the prisoners.
But that was a benefit for you, was it not?
I'm a public policy maker, blessed. My job is to look at public policy and see how public policy can impact positively to everyone. Okay? I do not benefit from anything myself that is not allowed by the prison. The prison allows me to bring in food. I brought in my own food. The prison allows me to bring in my own blankets. I brought in my own blankets. I did not need to bribe anybody to bring my food in. It was my entitlement in terms of the Prisons Act. What I'm talking about, blessed, is a culture, a generalized culture at our prisons now, which have now rendered them havens of corruption.
So, do I also get a sense that there are a lot of well-to-do prisoners who are people who are behind bars right now in remand prison?
Not that number in that sense, no. But what we have is you've got incarcerated people who have got well-to-do families outside prison, who are then looking after these prisoners. But in terms of what you would call wealthy prisoners, we had a few. I mean, during our time, we had Mr. Chimombe. We also had Mr. Mpofu and so forth, and a few others who came in and out during our time.
The Constitution makes bail a right that is only taken away under extenuating circumstances. In fact, as you walk into court, you have an unassailable right to bail. Do you have a sense that this is respected?
No. Me and my colleagues, we were denied bail almost 3 times. Twice by the lower court and once by the High Court on appeal. I did not agree with the reasoning which was used by the court to deny us that bail. We were, in my view, entitled to that bail, and we were denied it. I had this sense and feeling that we were meant to stay there,
regardless of
without trial, okay, and then get released the way in which we were released after serving. So for me, it was a clear intention of persecution by prosecution.
You did serve.
I served my time.
And yet most of you are acquitted.
Almost 44 of us were acquitted. 34 were convicted and given sentences ranging from 6 to 24 months, which were then suspended. We are appealing against those sentences. We hope that the matters will be heard at our High Court in the not too distant future.
But do you get a sense of the suspended sentence? Or you already served it?
I was given a 2 years custodial sentence, albeit suspended for 5 years. Okay? Effectively, I spent 6 months in prison of that so-called 2 years suspended. So yes, I've got a suspension which I saved. If things had been handled properly, I should have been granted bail and attended court from home just like everybody else on the presumption of innocence. That did not happen. I was kept in prison for that period of time unnecessarily as a way of punishing me because I hold views which are different from my compatriots who are in government today. It should not be like that.
You have a sense that you're being targeted for holding those different views?
Yes, and it shouldn't be like that because it is a negation of the what we fought for. It is a negation of the liberation struggle. Because the liberation struggle was about one person, one vote. Okay, it was about choice. It was about having different views. Because we were denied that by Ian Douglas Smith. But now if I differ with my fellow compatriot today, okay, that cannot be a reason for arresting me. I'm challenging my compatriots to say, let's compete on ideas. Don't say if you feel that I'm beating you on ideas, you incarcerate me. It can't be a fair fight. Let's have a fair fight. Let's have a contestation of ideas. Let Zimbabweans decide and determine who between us and you should be governing the country. In a free, democratic state, that's what the liberation struggle was about.
Do you have a sense that in this country, the judiciary is being used to fight or to settle political scores in favor of the ruling elites?
Blessed, I've answered this question several times. My view is that I have been, in the majority of cases, unhappy about judicial outcomes in this country, particularly in the law court, where opponents of the regime are arrested. I have been unhappy in the majority of the outcomes of judicial processes. I leave it up to the court of public opinion. I leave it up to Zimbabweans themselves to judge their institutions. What is it Zimbabweans say about their institutions? I've told them my view. My view is that I am unhappy, and I've been unhappy with the majority of outcomes. I have disagreed with the majority of outcomes with the judiciary. I'm putting it to Zimbabweans. What say you about the judiciary? It is your judiciary. They are created. This judiciary is created by you.
You have been unhappy, but oftentimes and most times you have led the Triple C, the party that you currently lead, or albeit a faction of it. You have led it to court in many cases, and you continue to do so. Why?
Yes, President, I'll continue to do that because I believe in the rule of law. So you can't believe in the rule of law and then you shun courts. You can't. You can disagree with courts and continue your belief in the principle of the rule of law. Whatever is wrong about our judiciary, opportunities will be created for us to correct it. But we can't then hate the institution. No. Okay? We must dislike what is happening there. And we must make it a point that we are determined to ensure that there are reforms within the judicial sector, in the security sector, etc., that must take place.
But is it not a negation of common sense that you continue to present yourself to an institution that you don't believe in?
Because I must have a body of evidence to say, this is what I did. I came here, this is what you say. I can't say that tomorrow if I have to justify to reform it, if I do not have a body of evidence. I need to go there and say, you guys, I came here. These were my issues. This is what you did.
At what point will that body of evidence be sufficient? Is it not sufficient now? Have you not had enough cases, enough test cases to test the judicial.
Blessed. What needs to be done in this country, including the reforms that need to be done in this country, is a generational duty. Some of the things that need to be done in this country are things that are going to be done probably by my own children, not me. But these things need to be raised now, for today and for posterity, so that tomorrow, those who are available, because I am only a current leader, blessed, and I believe that any leader and every leader is but a caretaker for future generations. So I must do my part now, demonstrate to future generations, this is what happened here, this is where it was wrong. And they're able to also relate to that body of evidence. But you must also understand that change is incremental. We are not where we were 10, 15 years ago. 15 years ago, Zanu PF would not hear of a new constitution. Could not hear of it. 20 years ago, Robert Mugabe would say, but what's wrong with the Lancaster House constitution? And I'll quote him verbatim. He said, what's wrong with the Lancaster House constitution? It has served us well. When he said then it had served us well, he meant that it had served him as Robert Mugabe, in the way in which he entrenched power with the amendments that they effected to the Lancaster House Constitutional Order of 1979. We fought this regime to say we need to have a democratic constitution, a constitution that we can all relate with, a constitution that can protect all Zimbabweans. The 2013 constitution, although not a perfect document, is a significant milestone in the democratization of this country. More particularly, when you look at it, it's Bill of Rights. Bill of Rights is probably only comparable to that one in South Africa, within the context of Africa, south of the Sahara. What has been the problem in this country is that constitution has not been implemented. What has been the problem in this country is that we have people who declare themselves to be constitutionalists, when they don't believe in constitutionalism. What should be happening in this country is for a push at the highest level in this country for our Minister of Justice to be implementing the new 2013 constitution, making sure all our laws are aligned to the new constitution so that Zimbabweans can benefit from the work that was done by democracy activists in the enactment of the 2013 Constitution of the Republic of Zimbabwe.
I would want to push you to talk to me about these people who declare themselves to be constitutionalists, not believing in the Constitution, and give us examples, if you may.
Yes, I will. Mr. Mnangagwa has made a declaration that he is a constitutionalist. What I have difficulty with is the fact that if he was a constitutionalist, what you should be promoting in this country is the respect of our constitution that we toiled for, 2013, that Zimbabweans have voted in their multitude, that constitution must be implemented. That constitution talks to 2 terms of office for the president. And any belief in constitutionalism would say, we need to be able, because he will be the first president to test this 2-term limit. We must go through with it as a culture for this country. That's constitutionalism. You can't say that. You can't say that I will not have my term of office beyond, or I will not extend my term of office beyond what the Constitution is saying. You're also saying that if that Constitution is amended, you can have a 3rd term. That's what you're saying. What he should be saying as the leader is that he opposes the amendment of the Constitution to give him 2 terms of office. That's what he should be saying. That's the confidence that he needs to be sending through this economy. That's the confidence that he needs to be sending through the region, that Zimbabwe has turned the corner in terms of a democratic ethos.
But is a constitutionalist supposed to oppose the desires of the people? Because if the people desire an extension of the presidential term, and if they do so speak, a constitutionalist, by their very nature, should listen to that demand, is it not?
I'm a political scientist and a student of politics and history. That be the original dictators of this continent, born out of the 1960s wave of change, brought in a caliber of dictators who would go and create something outside there, and then go onto a podium and shout, "Who am I to say no to what the people want?" when they would have created that which they are saying the people want. There has never been a clamor by the people of this country for 2030. None. And I challenge you to say, do an opinion poll now and ask the people of Zimbabwe whether they would want to extend the presidential term.
We see them dancing. We see them calling for 2030. We see them holding rallies in the name of 2030.
No, when you see a group of partisans, a partisan group of individuals, parroting a party agenda, that does not represent the views of the people of Zimbabwe. I'm saying do a poll across that partisanship and find out what Zimbabweans want. I can tell you now that it is my considered view that they do not wish the term of office to be extended. And I can give you my reasoning as to why they would not want that to happen. People are going through extreme difficulties economically. People are having difficulties even just putting 1.5 meals on the table. They attribute this problem to governance. That's what they do. You walk in the street, they say, what is the government doing about this? Then you come to me with the logic that the same people can say, we need to extend the term of office of this government. Surely no. What they would be saying is that we need to shorten. What they would ordinarily say, from pure logic, is that let's shorten the term of office of this government. In any normal democracy, a mature democracy, if you start facing challenges in your body politic, you actually call for an early election to check whether you still have the mandate of the people that you are governing. You don't go and try and promote the extension of your term of office. You renew it now.
So your sense is that the term of office should also be cut short?
My sense is that we should call for an early election.
Sounds to me like you're a student of Blessed Gesa.
No, I am my own student. I am my own student. I've said this before. If you go back to our last interview, way back in May, I said to you, when things are not working, that was way before Blessed Gesa raised these issues. I said, when things are not working in any party politics, you call for an early election. That's what you do. You actually bring forward the term of office of government. The British recently, Sunak had to call for an early election because there were challenges. He needed to go back to the British people, find out whether he still has got a mandate to govern. And he lost that election. He was basically communicating and respected the electorate to say, I need to speak to them. Are they still with me or not? That's what you do. That's the essence of democracy. He can say, or Sunak should not have said, no, I'll wait until 2025. He actually says, let's have the election now. Let me check whether the people that I'm governing are still with me. That's what you do. That's the culture that we need to adopt.
President Jameson has consistently called for unity, respect for constitutionalism, peace, and saying that this is what will bring development. In his view, he finds that the Triple C is unnecessarily antagonistic, has called for sanctions in this country, against this country, and could actually be sabotaging his government in the way he seeks to implement economic recovery and prosperity in this country.
Let me say to you first that I agree with Mr. Mnangagwa and any other leader who calls for peace, who calls for national unity of purpose in any given country. I subscribe to that too, as a political leader. I definitely say no to the allegation that the CCC and or the opposition called for sanctions against this country. You're giving the opposition and or the CCC the power that we actually do not have. Do you think you can summon the United States Congress to do that which it does not want to do? No, you can't. We don't have that power. Sanctions have been informed by the policies of the respective countries that have imposed those sanctions. Whether it is the EU, which is informed by EU policies, it is the Americans, it is informed by American policy. We have no say in the matter. If you recall, and people must not be ahistoric and they must not be revisionist. I'm a former member of the unity government myself. During the whole period where we had a unity government of the MDC and Zanu PF, this country was under sanctions. Why weren't the sanctions removed if they were brought by the MDC? If they'd been brought by the MDC was now in government, then logically those sanctions would have gone. But they didn't. They remained there. So it is fallacious for anyone to suggest that the opposition has got influence over the sanctions decision.
But you did lobby for them. Morgan Changirai lobbied for them. There's a video clip where he says if South Africa and other progressives are going to sanction Zimbabwe, the regime would scream.
No, he was expressing an opinion. And I'm talking about...
And opinions of leaders are lobby ideas, don't they?
No, blessed, let me explain this.
Please do.
The United States sets out a criteria under which it will sanction any country in the world. Okay? To say we will sanction you if you abuse human rights. We will sanction you if you do this. Then a country does those things. So whether anyone says it or does not say it, okay, that sanction may be imposed. So it is, the sanction has not been imposed as a result of what this person would have expressed as an opinion. The sanction has been imposed as a result of the laws, the principles, and policies of that given country. So the opposition.
But there's always something called advocacy.
Yes.
Persuasion.
True.
Yes. And it is a considered view for those that you have been wrestling to try and win power for.
But do you need persuasion if your policies have been violated? No, you don't. Actually, you don't need persuasion. You are forgetting that all these countries have got representations in this country in terms of their embassies. They know what's happening. They report to their own countries. They make their own decisions.
Senator Timba, whilst you were being held in this cell, was there a time in your mind that you felt you just needed to let go and protect your children? I mean, your son was one of those who were arrested and spent the night in prison cell for just being at his own house.
Yeah. I don't know, to let go of what? To let go of my desire for freedom, for myself and others? No, I can't let go of that. Blessed, it's part of me. It's in my DNA. That will go away when I'm no more. Yes, they persecuted my son. They harassed my son. I got to a situation where my son lost 5 months of his schooling. He's supposed to have started university in August, but he couldn't because of this persecution. He ended up having to start on January 28th this year because he couldn't go to university before this trial was concluded.
And don't you think that you failed him as a father? You put him in a position where he lost.
I wish next time when he comes here, you actually speak to him. After this ordeal, he actually came to me and says, Dad, I now understand you. And I now understand what you do. Because he saw the abuse of citizens.
Are you saying that these actions, instead of scaring people, actually galvanize them to want?
I can tell you that with respect to my son, it strengthened him. He came out of there and he looked at life differently. I remember I'll tell you one day we were at remand prison. And then I said, it was in the morning, and people are queuing to have porridge. I says, okay, you don't have to eat that, okay? Our supplies will be here within the hour. Then he says, no, Dad, no, I want to go and eat this. I want to go and eat what they're eating. I want to find out what it is. Then he went there and he picked up that porridge. In the afternoon, he went there and picked up the lunch. I felt that my son learned a lot from that experience in prison. And the learning was not pushed by me, it was by him, motivated by him to say, Dad, I want to do this. But his appreciation of the things that I've been doing all along in my life is much better than what he had before this happened. He understood. And I can tell you now he's a different person.
When you were in prison, journalist Hopo Chingono wrote that, and also I did a bit of research from it, that you're a man of means. You had a thriving company. You used your resources to fund the opposition. Do you regret doing that?
No, I don't. I don't regret it, blessed. Whatever I did then and years ago, so many years ago, it's my contribution to the struggle for this country. And my view continues to remain the same, blessed. I come into this struggle to give something to it. I don't need to take anything out of this struggle. And I can tell you, I went into government during the unity government days. One guy came to me actually from the CIO, he says, but how is this possible? Blessed, when I left my government office, I left even the pen that I was using in my ministerial office. I paid everything. I've kept a record of what I handed over to the executive secretary of the minister to say, listen, when I came here, these are the things that I brought into the office. Now I'm leaving. These are the things that I was given was, these are your stuff. And then I walked away. I am proud of that. Blessed. I accept the fact that I have lost a lot personally in this struggle, but I don't regret it.
Do you still have your family wealth?
Some of it has been significantly taken away over the years, including my brother's investments, etc. On account of my work, we've lost a lot. But it's not going to change me, not at all. It's not going to change me, and no regrets at all.
As you sit here with me, Senator Timba, what is your sense for the future of this country?
You see, if I am to say something in short, they say Shirino Zungoti Tasa. Okay? In offer. Change will come and is coming. As I sit here, Jara Blessed, I can tell you that in my view and in my mind, I am not a beneficiary of the change that I'm fighting for. I am not a beneficiary of the change that I'm fighting for. The beneficiary of the change that I'm fighting for are probably my last two children and my grandchildren. Those are going to benefit from the change that I'm fighting for today. But that change is coming.
How long do people have to wait for that change, if at all it's necessary?
Again, I wish I could give people a date. I can't. But what I can give people is assurance that change is coming.
Some people who have just given up, Senator Timba, they had hopes that Morgan Tsvangirai could deliver a fair. They had hopes that the inclusive government would deliver something. In fact, many say it was a time that history was supposed to change. It didn't. Then came your leader, who then resigned from the Triple C, Nelson Jameson. People have lost hope. And where there's no hope, surely nothing will be delivered.
Hope is not a strategy, Pleasant. We plan for change. And as leaders, what we do day in, day out, we think through processes to say, how do we move our nation states from where we are to where we would want them to be?
You have been outwitted in all processes, Senator Timba. You have been hit left, right, and center. MDC Alliance, Triple C. You're naked. Strategically.
Yes, I actually wanted to say, Blessed, I'm actually wearing a Chinese jacket. Covered in total. No, we have not. Blessed, we have moved in this country from where we were. Blessed, we are not where we were in between 1980 and 1983, 1984. Okay? When this regime was massacring people in Matipalaland. We were not there. We have moved from there. Blessed, we were not where we were in the first decade of independence, where the majority of our people could not access health, could not access education, etc. We moved from there. Okay? Here I'm talking about the negatives of our current government and also its positives during that period. Blessed, we have moved from where we were before 1997, when the constitutional movement was launched in this country. We've moved away from a bastardized Lancaster constitution to a democratic new constitution, with probably close to 50% of its laws, of the laws of this country now aligned to a new constitution. We have moved.
But you're still in a country where Job Sikala spends 2 years in prison, 2 good years. He's acquitted of all charges. You are in a country where it takes 10 years to hear an appeal from the High Court, where your cadres then in the MDC were accused of having murdered a police officer, where there was clear footage that at the time that incident happened,
they were not there.
One of that person was in church. And you sit here and tell me that we have moved in a country where an invitation to a police station is as close as prison sentence. How do you convince your son? How do you convince yourself that you have moved when you spent 5 good months being denied bail?
Blessed, I'm glad you have said we have moved, but we have not stopped or ended. Okay? There are some serious challenges that we still have in this country with respect to the respect for human rights. We have serious challenges in this country still to do with the equality of everyone or all of us before the law. Okay? A Zanu PF functionary can just call for a meeting across the road here. They don't need to notify the police, but I'm required to do so. We still have these challenges. Okay? Blessed, all I'm saying to the people of Zimbabwe is that don't give up. Don't give up, because nothing is forever. This that we are experiencing today will come to pass and it will end.
How does someone begin to believe you? How does someone begin to take your advice seriously and think that something is going to come out of it? Like I said, people believe you have been strategically outstripped. You are bankrupt.
We are not strategically bankrupt. I accept that we have been outgunned, okay? Because we believe in a non-violent struggle. We believe in a peaceful struggle to democracy. And we will continue to believe in that because it will succeed. I am a disciple myself of Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King. I believe in the power of nonviolence. We are fighting one of the most brutal regimes in Africa, but we are going to defeat it without knives and without spears. We will continue to push the frontiers and move forward.
Going forward, I want to turn to your political party as the Triple C. Going forward, do you find the Triple C as an attainable vehicle that can persecute the strategy and struggle that you talk about?
You see, I want to repeat myself. The opposition is the sum of the aspirations of the majority of Zimbabweans for freedom, for prosperity, and for happiness. That's the opposition. What we do as leaders is to come and provide leadership to that opposition. So that opposition remains intact, irrespective of what happens to Timba and the next leader. It remains intact because it is the sum of the aspirations.
If I'm to use that analog, Senator Timba, what you're basically saying is that my car that is parked outside your yard right now, is a vehicle that is going to take us to Blair, and it's intact, but it doesn't have wheels. How does it take me there? Well, because without the leadership, probably doesn't. It's probably the fuel. The leadership might be the fuel, or might be the engine.
Blessed, if we look out through the window, my window now, we can see that there are wheels on your car. It will take us to Blair. That one. We'll get there. Blessed, I believe that leaders will always emerge, okay? Leaders will come and leaders will go because they are a product of the people. I believe at this juncture, whilst we have experienced, call it some disturbance, state-sponsored disturbance, okay? We are gonna get around it and there will be a vehicle that will take us to the next stage. I can't provide further details regarding that.
But you have confidence?
Yes, I do. I also have confidence in the leaders that I work with, in particular Advocate Nelson Jameson. I have confidence in him.
You work with Advocate Nelson Jameson?
Yes, I do.
What is the nature of the work that you do together? Because he left the Triple C, right?
Yes, he did. Advocate Nelson Jameson is my brother in the first instance. Before being a political ally. He's my brother. Our relationship is that of brothers. So whether there's politics or no politics, there is a relationship between my person and the person of Advocate Nelson Jameson. When it comes to views about where this country should be going, we share a common vision about where Zimbabwe should go to. We don't have to sit down to talk about that vision. I can speak about that vision from here. He can speak about the same vision wherever he is.
Yeah, but you said you work together.
When I'm saying we have actually worked together and still work together because we agree on where this country should be going to. I know you want to ask me a specific question, Blessed, to say, when did you last meet him? I'm not going to answer that.
No, I was not going to ask that.
All I wanted to say
that there are rumors that Advocate Nelson Chamisa still controls the CCC. Are you confirming those rumors?
I don't normally operate on rumors.
I do.
Okay. I can say to you now, I am the leader of the CCC. Advocate Nelson Chamisa does not interfere in the running of the CCC. That I can confirm to you.
But he cooperates?
No, he's what do you mean cooperate? He's not...
he works with you?
Wait a minute. No. But I'm saying he cannot cooperate with that which he is not a part of, if you understand what I mean. Okay? But all I'm saying is he does not interfere in the operations of the CCC. I'm the leader of the CCC.
Today, I just wanted us to deal with the issues and aspects around the human rights and your incarceration, but it would be unfair for me not to talk to you about the current state of our politics in Zimbabwe today. What is your position in terms of the issues that have been raised by war veterans and the reaction thereof by the state?
Okay. Let me say that I empathize with the issues that have been raised by war veterans. One, concerning their welfare. Two, concerning the direction of the governance of the country. Three, their views on the issue of the so-called 2030 agenda. I empathize equally with the same views which have been expressed by the church on the same issues. I empathize equally with the same views that have been expressed by civic society regarding the same three issues that I've raised. You will recall that before all these three bodies came up to express these views, in May, sitting with you of 2024, I expressed the same views. I explained to you why we were opposed to the 2030 agenda. So our position publicly is known regarding the 2030 agenda as the CCC. I am happy that we have had several other entities after us who are also now subscribing to the views that we expressed there.
The reaction of the state thereafter?
It is, in my view, not advisable for any government to treat somebody who holds views which are different from yours, and then you treat them, or you basically criminalize them. Okay? I would say that they should try and engage. They must engage the various stakeholders that I've mentioned, engage political parties, engage the church, engage the war veterans on the issues that they are raising. Do not attack them, because these groupings of people, they constitute our country, they constitute our nation. You cannot ignore their views. You don't have to agree with them, but you cannot ignore them or to try and suppress them in any form or manner. Engage.
President, and lastly, President's address with the editors. Are you convinced?
Well, I've raised my issues regarding that, and my position regarding that is public. What I'm expecting Mr. Mnangagwa to say is that he is opposed to the amendment of the Constitution to extend his term of office. The day that he says that, I will publicly come out to agree with him and endorse his statement. At this juncture, no, I am not happy with the manner in which this 2030 thing is being handled. Let's be emphatic. Let's create certainty in our country in our politics and in our economy. Now the markets are jittery because there's no clarity on the 2030 agenda. And as leaders, we've got a responsibility to bring policy clarity.
Amazing. My last question to you would be, can you just take us through just one day you were in prison when you're not going to court? What was your return? What would you do? I mean, how was your day structured?
Okay. At around At 5:15 in the morning, we'll wake up. Okay. I had a young man that used to assist me in everything that I needed, etc. He would then prepare some water for me to take a bath. And in this cell, we had one ablution facility, which we all shared. There are 8 of us. So which means I'm up at 5:15 in the morning. Because I was considered senior and so forth, I had respect. They'd say, no, allow Mdara to go and bath first. So I would go and take my bath in the morning. And then around 5:45, we were already being marched by what we would call cell staff, who are other prisoners, but were in charge of the cell, for purposes of being counted. So you're all being asked to come and, you line up, you sit down on the floor in 5s so that you're counted. But it was all agreed in the cell that I was not going to sit on that floor. The guards also accepted it because I had said from day one, I'm not going to do this. So ordinarily, I would be standing right at the end of the cell so that I'm counted with others. Then the cell door is open. The guards come in, start counting. Counting is a routine in the prison. And then you get counted. And those who are going to court are told, you start preparing for court and go. That's around 6 o'clock. Those who are not, we sit back, we try to start working on our breakfast, prepare our own breakfast. Those who are preparing their own breakfast from their provisions. We'd have buckets. We used to have buckets to keep our food, make a little table, do some instant porridge with powdered milk and things like that. And you have your breakfast. And then after that, I would come out of the prison cell. I'll go into the courtyard to exercise. The courtyard was not that big, but at least I've got a routine of walking at least 2 kilometers a day. So I measured it, counted the paces to see how many paces I have to do to do that exercise regime. So I continue my exercises in the morning. And then after that, once in a while, I'm allowed to leave the confines of the cells to go between the cell and the reception. Some chats with some guards and so forth. And I liked exchanging ideas on improvements at the prison. So I would go and engage maybe the deputy member in charge and say, listen, I think we can use this room to do this, we can do this, we can do this. And as I said, the prison cell had this one ablution facility. It was covered by one prisoner, Janimbi, when he was there. We actually built in all those shanks for that prison. We were staying in the section called the D class, which is for dangerous criminals, which means your rapists, your murderers, and your armed robbers. That's what we used to say. And I used to argue to say, we need to have another class, which we call the P class, which is the political prisoners. Then we can have our own section and go and stay there. But that was about it. And then around 3 o'clock, we are being loaded back into the cell. And then they come, you are counted again, and then they lock the cell until the following one. That was the basic routine. And then I would probably then sit in the cell. I would read or write. I did a lot of writing when I was there.
What time is lights out?
they don't actually switch off the lights. The lights are permanently on. There's a security measure. They're permanently, they don't switch them off. But switching off lights in a prison is actually a security risk. So the lights are permanently on. You don't switch them off.
So you're locked in from 3?
From 3 to the following morning.
To 5 in the following?
Yeah, to 6 in the morning.
To 6 in the morning. How does it feel being locked in? Because when you're in your house, you can just
walk around. Yes, you feel constrained. There's nothing, you value freedom only when it has been taken away from you. Here we're clamoring for freedom, but you don't really appreciate what you're clamoring for until you lose that freedom. And the moment you are arrested, what they take away from you is your freedom. And that's when you realize how valuable freedom is. But the first thing that I did when I got to prison, I made sure and I made it clear to them that in terms of the Constitution, all you can take away now is my freedom. What you cannot take away is my dignity. So there are certain things that I said I would not do if I felt that they impacted on my dignity. That I needed to keep.
You used to smoke a lot. Wow. How did you manage in prison?
In prison, you're allowed to smoke. I actually had more cigarettes in prison than I would have at home, because every other friend who would visit me knew that I was a smoker and they would bring cigarettes for me. So I used to have piles and piles of cigarettes. So I never had a problem.
That's currency in prison, is it not?
It is also currency in prison. I never had a problem with cigarettes. But that blessed, I think you might want to know that as of 8:30, the evening of December 31, I stopped smoking. I've been smoke-free since then, up to this day. I've not touched a cigarette.
Why particularly 2030 of December?
I went for, when I left, my daughter, my first child, who is a medical doctor, instructed me to do various tests on my various organs and so on. She's in Australia. She came here when I was in prison for about 3 weeks in September. She noticed what was happening to me and so on. When she went back, she then made arrangements that I go through a series of tests. When it came to my lungs, and when the results came back, looked at them, the doctors were saying, listen, for your age and the amount of smoking that you have been doing, your lungs are amazing. And when that happened, it hit me, blessed. And I said to myself, God was giving me a second chance. I should not tempt or test him. And therefore, I made a decision to stop smoking. And I no longer smoke.
And that decision was made at a precise time. You said 8:30?
8:30 is the time that I specifically smoked my last cigarette. 8:30 p.m., December 31 of 2024.
Like I said, I think you have a little bit of Sangeza in you. But anyway, I want to thank you very much, Senator Timba, for sitting down with me and sharing with me some of those issues that...
8:30 is 2020, 2030. Okay, all right. They've okay to me.
I want to thank you very much, Senator Timba, for sharing these moments with us and just talking to us about important aspects of our country, and especially zeroing in and looking at the human rights, constitutional rights that one is supposed to be afforded. It is very important for people to understand these rights and to have a conversation and a connection to them, because you can't demand rights that you're not aware of. As I normally do before I let you go, Senator Timba, if there's anything that you really want to share with the nation, something that I might not have asked you, something that might not have been part of this conversation, but if it sits heavily in your heart, I give you this opportunity to do so in just under 2 minutes.
I would like to say to Zimbabweans, whilst I maintain that hope is not a strategy, I do not want you to lose it. Do not lose hope. I do appreciate the current challenges that people are facing economically, the challenges people are facing politically. I have the conviction that these things are coming to pass, and they are coming to pass soon. I thank you. Bless.
On this, the free talk, we ventilate issues and matters that matter to this nation. It is important for us as the fourth estate to engage on your behalf and bring you quality conversations that have the ability to shift this country into a different direction. We at the Frederick Newman Foundation for Freedom, we also believe that not only should people have access to freedom of speech, to political rights, and to behave as citizens, but people must also be economically empowered. The aspect of economy lies deep in some of our values here at Heart and Soul TV and our partners, the Frederick Newman Foundation. And I was in conversation with the Triple C leader, Jameson Timba. Now, this time around, I sat with him. I didn't get into the politics or the party politics because we have another episode with another arm of the Triple C where we discuss about this. Today, we were just discussing about rights, civil liberties, and issues that happen in our country. And I, as Dara B, as always say, together we can. We must talk to each other, not through each other. This country is far much better if we listen to each other. I want to thank you very much, Senator Timba.
Thank you, Blessed.
And
thank you.
Wish you the best in your political journey.
Thank you for having me.
We will remain journalists. We will continue to tell the story. We will tell the story of the missiles being fired, and we'll tell the story of the missiles landing.
Thank you, Blessed.
This is the Free Talk. Until next time, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our content so that it reaches a wider audience. In fact, your subscriptions to our platforms mean that we can continue to do this work. You sharing this content means it will change lives for many. This will always be the Free Talk. With me, yours, Dara B. Until next time, ciao.
Kutengo wa kutenga sai